Funny faces? Awesome!
I have no
And
funny
it's
face.
Monday night, and this is the best part of your Monday night, I'm sure, with the Metal Lab. We have full house again. So it's myself, Jason, Tom,
Hello, everyone.
Mike,
Ta-da!
Jordan, and Jay, the other Jay, if you will.
Jazz hands.
With the jazz hands. Just a quick reminder, folks, we're brought to you in part by hcrealms.com. If you want to check them out in their shop, click the shop button on the very top of the HC Realms page, or go directly to realmsgaming.com. Do a little bit of shopping, get yourself some really cool stuff, including HC Realms dice cups, HC Realms hats, HC Realms t-shirts. They also have some of the grid reality maps that have been used as ROC prizing that they're not in the rubber form, they're in paper form, but they're really cool maps still in the meantime. And on your way at the checkout, click or put in the coupon code MARRIED to get yourself 10% off of your purchase. As well, if you want to support us directly, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks to give us some direct support if you prefer that way. Just a quick reminder, HC Realms does have some leftover Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. packs going for $9.95 US, and that is before the coupon code. So if you actually grab a couple of those, last I checked there was 10 left in the shop. If you grab those and use your coupon code MARRIED, you will get 10% off of that $9.95 in addition. So it'll be about 99 cents off of your purchase on that. So that's already cheap packs for much cheaper. I'm not sure how much faster they've got left on those. I'll check it later in the show on the way out. In the meantime, it's the week of the Superman Wonder Woman pre-release. Some of us have been, some of us haven't. Superman Wonder Woman is going to take up a lot of our day today, and we only have one preview from that set that we can really spend a lot of time on for this episode, and that is the champion figure from last year's. Well, actually, we have two because we didn't cover Eclipso last week, did we?
No.
Just that he existed.
Okay, just that. Yeah, because we got the last second preview on him. So we have the Design Insight article, which I'm going to pull up on my screen now and open up Mr. Eclipso himself. Okay, so Eclipso has a possession ability, the Black Diamond Possession. When Eclipso is KO'd, or if you pay 25 points for him, equip this character to a friendly character and link to that character's dial. Now, we went over this last week. This was weird wording that they actually went and spent a little bit more detail in, as well as defining standard characters. We'll get into that a little later. He's got a trait, which unfortunately you can't use when you're possessed. Eclipso can use Mind Control. When he does and hits only one character, you may replace any of the hit character's combat values with Eclipso's printed combat values until actions resolve. For the most part, what you see is what you get as far as powers, except for a special attack power. The Ebony Blade of Eclipso. Eclipso can use Blades, Claws, and Fangs and Steel Energy. If he uses Blades, Claws, and Fangs and the dice rolls a 5 or 6, he heals 2 damage when using Steel Energy instead of 1. So he's Quintessence and Mystics, Flight. But the Quintessence goes over the fact he doesn't have Indomitable. 8 range with 2 targets. Tom, you get to go first on Eclipso. But when you're talking on board and as a Possessor.
Well, as a Possessor, he's awesome. He's one of the few Possessors that can give you Precision Strike, and Precision Strike is an awesome power. Also gives you some nice defense options there with Impervious and Shape Change, which is cool. And Stealth is always useful, especially if you happen to look across and see that your opponent's not ready for it. So, and as you go, he's got consistent numbers down throughout the dial, so that even as you're taking damage, you're likely still going to be able to boost something up. And he never, every click has a power it's going to be of use to you when he gets Prob and Outwit, and also Battle Fury towards the end, which could be a cool option, especially if you do find somebody, if you choose to possess them, use them as a Possessor for somebody who starts later down their dial, then it gives you the opportunity to perhaps start with Prob or start with Outwit. I don't know if there's anybody who starts so late down the dial. You could start him with Battle Fury, but you could get it pretty soon. So yeah, lots of cool things as a Possessor. As a character, yeah, he's very thick. That's a lot of reduction combined with Mystics, so it could take a lot of time to get through all that. So hopefully some feedback will be happening, and as he's doing it, I mean, that Mind Control is very cool. Dual target Mind Control is always cool. Single target Mind Control that can replace him with his very high values and do some serious damage is great. But I honestly think that at 250 points, that's a huge investment to what is essentially a one-man army who's not that much of a one-man army. Let me put it to you this way. If he didn't have a possession option, I'd be like, yeah, he's okay. I don't see him using him very often. Because he has a possession option, I can only see using him as Possessor. But that's not really a knock against his ability as a full dial. I just think he's a really good possession option.
All right. Mike, your turn.
I echo a lot of the statements that Tom just said. The fact that he's a thick dial as a Possessor means he's a lot more valid because he'll be able to go on a larger or a higher point character and not get KO'd before they do. With the new, I think we're gonna have to talk about the linking mechanic there as well at some point. But overall, nice stuff. Top dial. If you want to add a little stealth to one of your characters, or always looking for impervious or some change in the case, the stats are fairly average, I guess. So you're gonna probably beat up a lower point character with this guy. I will be using him as a Possessor, but just like Tom, I would not touch him with a 10-foot pole as a regular character.
All right, Jordan.
I think he's kind of mediocre. I think overall, even as a Possessor, I like the assortment of powers he has. Don't get me wrong, but when you compare him to say like Heroclix, unless you're really looking for precision strikes specifically, I just say I feel like Heroclix is just a better overall figure as a Possessor. They're also both 250 points, and I think they're both equally useless on the board. But possessing.
All right, Jay.
I like him. He has good powers. Stealth, Precision Striker are hard to come by from a Possessor. Really solid stats all the way through. To answer Mike's question, I believe the highest click number a character starts on in Modern is 7, which is why you see Kenny playing that Iron Man at 50 points to play with Heroclix to get the no willpower power.
Right.
Yeah. But just really good. I mean, not really relevant given that he's not going to be playable in Limited, so little too late, I guess. But I still really like him.
Only for the next few months.
Yeah, for the next 6 months. So I mean, he'll be valid for a couple of years.
He will pop up, but for now, just like not really relevant.
Yeah.
Hard to focus on considering the format, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things. Is the limited format's going to take our attention away from things like Possessors or resources and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's it's still fair to keep thinking ahead to the long-term metagame because that's the major tournaments are full-blown Modern, right? So, but that said, a lot of what's been said, I'd only be repeating. So I'm just going to take a couple seconds to explain how the linking mechanic is really just a way of just saying when this character takes damage or is healed, move the dial to go along with it. Now, there's a little thing about wording that's going to be a little tricky with regards to Bizarro and how he rolls at the beginning of the turn. Things like that were going to be a little wacky, but they'll probably streamline the wording or not worry about it because Bizarro is on his way out in the next Golden Age cut. As well, this equip mechanic they went into great detail with. You can only equip with one thing. So far, the only things that equip are equipment and the new Possessors. And any Possessor, actually, they've back-changed that rule. And there's one other Possessor in the set, and it's a Brainiac, which we can probably discuss a little later on once we actually have that figure in hand or have a not just an HC Realms post view of that. By the way, HC Realms has spoiled an awful lot of the dials in the rumors section. Thanks to the pre-release tournaments. So we will be spending a lot of time talking about information we got from that. But I'm going to move on next to last year's Team Championship figure, Sebastian Faust, or just called Faust as he is. Faust comes with a Checkmate, Mystical, Outsider, Sentinel of Magic, and Shadow Pack keywords. He's got a trait. When Faust KOs a character, he may choose a standard power from that character's card. He can use that power until he chooses again. He's got a special movement power. He can use Sidestep, and when he does and occupies hindering terrain, before moving, you may place him in any square of hindering terrain within 4 squares. He's also got a special attack power. Give Faust a power action when he's adjacent to an opposing character. Deal an adjacent opposing character 1 penetrating damage and heal Faust 1 click. And then he's got a special damage power, the Pocket Dimension, When making an attack roll, Faust may roll 3 dice instead of 2 and choose 1 die to ignore. Comes with 7 range, not indomitable, mostly standard movement and damage powers or damage symbols. He's got some energy shields, some mid dial super senses, some late dial prob, and regeneration linked together. So I'm gonna let Mike start on this one.
This is the best figure in the set. That's pretty much all you need to know. I mean, having the last 2 clicks with regeneration and prob together is incredible. So even if you're pushing at the second last one, you're still gonna have another crack at it. If you fail both times, or then you take that damage. Aside from that, I mean, I've had some time to actually digest this figure at this point, and he's pretty incredible. I think Patrick and Kevin and Justino did a really bang up job working with the design team or the gameplay team over at WizKids on this figure. Not to give too much ass, but let's see here. Huge on the reroll. I mean, it echoes Replicate Girl to me. The rolling 3 dice instead of 2 and then choosing 1 die to ignore. Overall, really good. A prime candidate for possession for after this next season ends. But even during that season, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of him.
All right, Jay.
I think he is really awesome and really strong. His mobility is nuts. Like, sidestep was already amazing enough, but this guy sidesteps like he's on crack. Like, 6 free move is just bonkers. Combat-wise, he's really strong with his triple die reroll, which will just be amazing for your odds. Good powers with a lot of ways to damage. Not caring about powers like Psychic Blast and his special attack power. A lot of good stuff there. It seems like they kind of took some choices with like not giving him mystics or like extra stuff to keep his points down, which I like. Yep. He's not like, I mean, theoretically this figure could be like a lot of points just given his comp power set, but they just kind of cut him down to the basics to make sure he's cheap and just something you're going to want to throw on a lot of teams.
Cheap and cheerful.
And I quite like it.
All right.
Good
Jordan.
keywords.
I really like his keywords and his damage power, pocket dimension, when making an attack roll 3 dice roll. That's outrageous. The probability of him being able to make attack rolls is way higher than any other figure, almost, even with a 10 attack. I personally want to just, throw an entity on him to give him 6+ movement, a really good defense power, so that he doesn't get a 2-shot or hit and then hit past the regen for the KO. But yeah, I really like his keywords. I can't say that enough, actually. Shadow Pact and Checkmate, they can actually be played now.
All right, Tom?
You guys have said it. For anybody watching the show at this point, if you're not sure why this is the best piece in the set, then welcome to Heroclix. I hope you enjoy the stay. I hope you have a chance to look around and see if it's for you. And if it is, then I'm sure you'll be playing Faust soon. That's it.
Absolutely. Myself and I'm looking at bringing back some of my old mystical team ideas. Little squishy teams that do a lot of really cool stuff that get around being squishy by being able to control the board. So I can't wait to give this guy a couple tries. I'm coming up with a couple ideas already with him. And to echo what Jay was saying, yeah, this is a character that if they had to put on the Mystics team ability or the Outsiders team ability, would have been coming at 110 points just to slap that team ability on. Coming in at a cool 90 is a comfortable zone. He's usable. Characters like Tim Hunter, who could really make effective use of Psychic Blast and the Pocket Dimension power, stuff like that. So yeah, there's some coolness going on here that I really want to make work. So I'm excited to give him a try and excited to see what I can do with him. So with that
anybody who's played a Dire Wraith will know why that trait is just, oh my god.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, with that said, it's time to start talking about Superman and Wonder Woman. And I want to lead in first with anticipation votes. Some of us have had the chance to touch some of the stuff, but that's in a different environment than what we're expecting to play in. So I want to go, like, we all have a good idea of what's in the set now because of the upcoming sets and rumors post that's in HC Realms general discussion zone. So let's start with commons. Start with Mr. J. Mr. J, what common are you most looking forward to throwing on the board and seeing if he works?
I kind of want to say hat because this is like the cheapest pick-a-power character ever, and he is just super duper awesome.
Yeah.
Surely is.
He is the best.
Yes. All right. Jordan.
I really like Countable, the Wonders of the World, James Olsen. Countable can use Outwit. When he does, improve targeting, ignores hindering, and doesn't need line of fire if the target is occupying hindering terrain within 10 squares.
Mhm.
So he's really cheap for 33 points, stealth of his own, and smoke cloud. So
Yep. Now,
I should point out that the rules team rule that he can't use Outwit with the 10 square range. If he has the 10 range from another source, he can use the improved targeting, but it itself does not give him the 10 range Outwit.
okay, so can I change that and just say like Amazons, because Amazons are amazing?
Because you just like the Amazons? Yeah.
I accept that.
Amazon for you.
No, kitties, my chicken pot pie.
Your cats are unhappy.
Oh, is that Max downstairs? Ah,
Yeah.
the other one's up here.
All right, Mike, what's your common of choice?
He's saying hello. Hello! Oh, man. Well, way to go, Jay. Hat was definitely mine because of pick of powers and keywords. Very, very, very solid first point. Really good. And for uncommon, I went with Jimmy Olsen because Turtle Boy.
We're not having a common yet. Quiet, you.
Com.
It's Hat. I guess for the purposes of variety, I would say that a close second for me was Menagerie. I think she's awesome. She's got, like, the animal keyword is already great, and Justice League Elite has some chances, like Hat, for example, to be good. Really, anyone who stacks up shape change, combat reflexes, and super senses off the top, combined with charging blades, that's a good piece. The fact that she can also be a taxi, and she's got a little bit of range just in case, for whatever reason, you can or can't make or don't want to be making that close combat attack, just fire off of elevation or whatever, then there's definitely uses for her. But to be fair, it's Hat. I mean, Hat's he's a decent enough little tie-up and annoyance piece. Force Blast is great on a cheap piece because you don't need stats to power it and make it good. So the fact that he can run in there, he's got the ESD to try to keep himself safe while he's getting into position. Force Blast is very useful in and of itself. And then add to that the fact that he's got the pick of power, and it's just a given. Hat is an outstanding value.
All right. Myself, my common of choice, I'm actually fiddling around with him. I didn't get a chance to see him fully extend out to what he could do in the tournament, but that is the generic soldier. He's very cool. 40 points onto the PD team ability, running shot and energy explosion and toughness on its opening dial, and he's traded with plasticity. Plus, he's got the ability to give him a power action, and your opponent can't use improved movement.
Jason, what's his keyword?
It's a good one. It's soldier.
Have you ever considered playing a soldier team, Jason?
Maybe soldiers might be something you'd consider playing in the future.
It might be a thing I use regularly already. I'm not sure.
Doesn't he have PD on him too?
Yeah, he has PD.
Oh, yeah.
Soldier does, yeah, he's awesome.
Absolutely. So we'll move into the uncommon slot, and I'm going to let Jordan take the lead on uncommons.
For uncommons, I probably think that my number one want to look at is probably Artemis, because she's outrageous. She's 125 points with the ability to do 12 and 5.
Yep.
And she's the Amazon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Heyo.
There's a little theme happening here with you.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I hear Jordan likes the ladies.
I like the ladies in comics.
All right, Tom, you're next on this one.
I said my favorite one earlier today to Mike Payne, and he actually made a noise as if he were being physically sick. And I think it's because of the fact that he doesn't think it's good, and I'll admit it's not a great piece, but I have a real soft spot in my heart for Clark Kent. I just think it's cool that for 55 points you get a stealthy guy who can jump into the hindering but still see through that hindering with Superman ally in order to use his awesome prop control. If what you need is outwit, then push him, and he winds up with outwit. And anybody who thinks he's adequately annoying, standing over there, potentially shutting down your power actions if you're within 4 squares, and otherwise just being a prob or outwit fiend who's hiding in stealth, if they really want to go after him, if they can't take him out fast enough, then he will bring out the Superman for potentially one very cool little attack thing. I think it's themey. I think it's cool. I love the idea that it's like, whoa, what just happened? For one turn, Superman shows up and annihilates and then disappears, or shows up and
I'm going to defend myself for 1 second. It is good, but Turtle Boy.
All right. It's fine. I know you love Turtle Boy. My point being, I think Clark Kent is good. I also love that because he is Superman ally, he can also give that to your wild cards. The opportunity to have a cheap prob or outwit piece that can potentially shut down power actions, give your wild card Superman ally, and potentially bring in a little beat stick for one turn of fun. He gets my vote.
All right. We started with Jordan on this one. Jay.
Is it me now?
It's you now. Uncommons.
I didn't want to steal anybody's, so I picked something that nobody else would pick. So I went with Apollo because he is just crazy strong.
He is.
Super awesome. He's a Greek god, so no prob or outwit unless your higher points are also a deity, which in Constructed I would find very unlikely. It's even unlikely in this set, but like not being able to prob or outwit somebody with that power set, those stats, is just crazy. And like even once he takes damage, he's still amazing because he gets this amazing attack power where when he hits an opposing character, they either take penetrating damage or the character can't retaliate. Like, what? That's no mercy, Apollo. You're mean.
All right, Mike. I think you've already said it, but I'm guessing.
Turtle!
Jimmy Olsen, the one that turns into Turtle Boy.
Turns into Turtle Boy, 6 clicks.
How is that? That is not your answer. You are lying.
Total. I got a chance to play with him, and I mean he's cheap as all hell, and you can I mean in the draft it's great because I mean it's not a normal format, so points don't really matter anyway. But yeah, a little perplexed to begin with. Keep him in the background, keep your guys up, then throw him into the fray. Watches him take a hit, and then turn into something nasty. The turtle clicks are actually really, really good for the points. Battle Fury, Giant, Dolphin. Awesome. Love it. It's so quirky and weird. I just love it.
His 25-point dial is pretty much what every Jimmy Olsen fan had wanted. Like the Superman Signal Watch, shutting off shape change, Little Perplex. Like for 25 points, he's super strong and like pretty much perfect for what you can ask for the character.
You mean the first half of the dial?
The 25-point line specifically, yeah.
All right, so I got Tom, I got Jordan, I got Jay. At the risk of developing a theme,
is it a soldier?
General Lane is my common of choice.
What a twist.
He's 40 points, just like the soldier.
And
He's got the politician and soldier keyword. Soldier, just like the soldier.
Yep.
4 range, sidestep, willpower. He's got a trait. General Lane and adjacent friendly characters can use the Superman enemy team ability. Now, 40 points, that means he gives your team outwit, as long as they're next to him.
Yeah.
Add in his gruff leadership. General Lane can use enhancement and leadership. When he uses leadership and succeeds, he is considered a higher point value than any friendly character with the soldier keyword. So moving on to the rares.
And the PD. Can't forget the PD.
Yes, he does
Love
have
the
PD
cops.
team ability as well. All right, let's talk rares, and let's start with... Who did I start with last time? I started with Jordan last time?
Yeah.
Mike, you get to start with the rares.
Ah, you're gonna snipe me.
I had a couple ideas, but I thought, I didn't want to echo anybody else's in this case. And then I came across the best piece.
And you're sniping me anyway.
And that's Lori Lamaris. She's cheap. The water defense power is really cool. It's kind of situational. I mean, that's less important than the mind control. Her crazy triple bolt mind control powers, and then there's the whole icing on the cake is if an enemy is in water when she dies, she does 2 penetrating damage.
Kaboom!
I think she's incredible for her points. Good old mermaid.
And that's 45 points on that figure. There's a lot going on in the low end.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
11 attack.
Tom, you seem excited about this, and you can take the next rare.
It's the same. I'm excited because of the fact that I also can't believe that 45 points gets you triple target mind control without feedback damage, with 11 attack, 17 defense with willpower. So 2 turns in a row, you're triple target mind controlling without feedback for 45 points and 11 attack. Like, it just seems like it must be a mistake. This is one of these things where the transcription of the fans obviously made a mistake, because by triple target they must mean single target, and by 11 attack they must mean 9 attack, and by no feedback damage they must mean twice the feedback damage. Because this can't be right. I mean, for 45 points. This is lunacy.
It's insane.
And for the purposes of Sealed, Amber felt it was really important to mention that she's allowed to use that mind control as a free action should the character be named Superman or Superboy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I just come on, she's unbelievable.
He is really good.
All right, next up, Mr. Jordan.
Jordan.
I think it's pretty obvious that Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, Mystics, 200 points.
What?
Amazon. But she, let's be serious. She's outrageous. She has the power set of the Ellie, which is better in my opinion, but she has the stats of the super rare from Trinity War. And she's outrageous.
She is super good. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, God.
Charge, flurry, sidestep, enough said.
Yeah.
12 attack, can't be probbed.
All right. Jay.
Because I do not have a brain sometimes, and sometimes we like to smash with things, but sometimes we get tired of the Hulk. They made the Firstborn.
Yep.
Okay. He hears the anger.
He is actually more angry than Hulk because he's so mad he makes everyone else mad.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Battle Furious.
Wake, Giant Reach, Quick that does 3 damage, traded Battle Fury, and then gives it to people who he doesn't even need to be next to because it's characters within 3 squares.
I got smacked down by that monster.
Even if you're not knocked away, he's like, okay, good luck retaliating if you're a range-based character. Just all the middle fingers. And just, even besides that, just amazing stats, 12 attack, probably not going to be able to be probbed, super strength, exploit, 12 and 7, can't be rerolled, and just, oh my god. And he just never quits with the stats. He's a monster, and I'm a monster for wanting to play him.
I'm going to be boring.
Mm-hmm.
Superman Blue.
He was my close second.
Wake me up in a few minutes when you start talking about him.
Yeah, we've talked about him at length. We know you're going to want to use him, and he's the one I'm most looking forward to building with, rather. So, can't wait to use him, and yeah, that's all I really want to go at length about that, because we've spent many a breath on that character, and I know Jay is chomping at the bits to take the lead on this one. Jay?
I made a chart.
Super rare. Go ahead.
I made a chart. Let me share. Hold on.
He's so proud of the chart.
I made a chart. That is what Mr. Mixel. I can't remember how to say his name. But that's what he does.
I think it's Mixizpitlik.
Miss Kickaplix.
So I can't remember. I was trying to remember for the show, but this is what he does.
People call it Mixelplik, but I think it's Mixizpitlik.
He does this chart. Just his trait alone makes him worth the 70 points.
Oh yeah.
he can. Any result of any roll that you get with him is just like, okay, I get a bad roll, my opponent cries. I get a good roll, I laugh.
Yeah.
Like, he just, without needing to take any actions besides power actions to put more dice on his card, like, he just is like Rocket Raccoon if Rocket got the Infinity Gauntlet. And then he also wore Batman's belt just for extra protection. Like, he's kind of like the most meta in terms of like the other meaning of the word character. Like, he doesn't care about the odds.
Jay is still screen sharing, so I'm double dancing here.
Oh, crap.
The measure of dice rolls.
He's just like, yeah, like,
You don't give
I mean, although it is true now that a lot of dice say they can't be re-rolled because they made Rocket, still, he just affects so much. Like, oh my god. And not needing any range or line of fire of any kind, just like, I'm just going to sit in my starting area for 70 points and basically make dice not matter.
I foresee a nerf.
That's what I said, but be that as it may. And also just he's such a delightful character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been reading Injustice, and he pretends to be the Spectre, and it's awesome. And he's just an amazing character. And
Reading him in action comics from the 90s, like early 90s, and he was hilarious.
He's just so cute. And also, his other power, where he can take an action to change somebody's size, he can turn off an entity.
A free action at that.
Yeah, like, yeah, I'm going to stop now, because I'm just going to turn into Batmite.
And double token power full square, right? Can't ignore that.
Oh yeah, like, he's already worth it for the trait, and then he turns off entities, and then that. It's like one of those characters where, like, you have to read the card a million times. You're like, wait, he does that, and that, and that, and then another thing. What? How many points does this cost? 0?
All right.
He's got no keywords, but who cares?
Since Jay's gonna need a mop in his room, Tom, what super rare are you looking forward to giving a try?
Oh, it's Faust. I mean, Faust is, we've already talked about him. He is the best. I've been doing a little bit of Excel stuff while we were all talking here on the other screen, just to figure out, like, what happens when you get the option of rolling 3 dice and removing one you don't want. And basically, as I think everyone knows, when you roll 2 6-sided dice, your median result is 7, right?
Yep.
Okay. The median result when you roll 3 and choose to remove one, assuming you always choose to remove the lowest one, even if it's a tie, remove one of them, becomes 8.5. So it's more than the equivalent of having a +1 on every die roll. It's almost the equivalent of having +2. Also of note, you go at this point in the game, there is a just less than 3% chance of rolling a crit hit or a crit miss. With this setup, there is a 0.5% chance of a crit miss, and almost 8% chance of a crit hit. And so, just to me, this is just the overall number arc here is crazy. It's more than it is more than getting a +1 on all of your results, and it also gives a lot more control over those results. So if you're with your median becoming 8.5. The game itself is basically based around a median of 7. I mean, the average attack values land at 10 or 11, and the average defense values land at 17, 18. We'll see that. We'll see that later on in this very cast. That's how everything is built, and in a world where that is how everything is built, shifting the median by more than one full number is a huge difference. And that's just one feature of what makes him great. Like, if he's a great use of 90 points, no matter how you choose to slice it, even if that damage power wasn't there. But having the damage power there makes him unbelievable. So, I mean, we did talk about him at length, and I skipped over talking about him before so that I could talk a little bit more about him now after kind of looking at some of the math here. But it's crazy. He's crazy good, and really congratulations to those guys for designing one incredible figure who I don't think he's broken, but I don't see any reason not to play him.
Well, and he's 160 points with Mr. Mix's Flick.
True. I don't know who's doing the damage at that point, but I guess Faust is doing the heavy lifting if he can. Mr. Mixel
Mixie Aspitlick.
Yeah.
I just looked.
What is it?
Mixie Aspitlick.
Right. Mixel Manixel. That guy. He's
for Godfrey.
he is absurd, and I would choose. Like they're both ridiculous. Why have one when you can have both and just not have money?
Yeah.
I was initially like super excited for Mixie, but then I realized he has to get errated. Like it can't not happen.
I want to know some issues with regards to the timing. When does he get to do that? Is that after all probs are done, or can I still prob if he does do that? There's some questions that are still up in the air on that one, to be brutally honest.
The wording needs clarification.
Before we go straight to the pitchforks and erratas, I want to see how the timing on that works. Jordan.
I'll bow down to the last daughter of Krypton.
The angry one or the regular one?
The angry one's a prime. That's a different rarity.
Right now.
All right, fair.
But just strictly super rares. This is the best figure in the set. I'm sorry, Patrick. Sorry, your champion figure. This is a Supergirl that's not only playable but amazing.
All right, Mike.
Well, Jay already covered my figure. Mr. Mixizpatlick.
Now try saying it backwards.
Yeah.
That's
That's how you get rid of him, isn't it?
Yes, that's the joke.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for clarifying that was a joke. He's an amazing piece. Yeah, there's not much I can add to what Jay said. You were very in-depth about it, and I agree with you 100%. It's awesome.
Right. Okay.
He can turn your opponent rolling a 7 with a 1 and a 6 into a crit miss.
Yep.
Like, what do you want?
Well, he has to roll the 1 in order for that to happen, though, right?
Any result he rolls will be a good thing.
Is amazing.
Anything he rolls will be useful in some way or another.
Yeah.
Even just basic game, like a 3 is a failed breakaway. Like, he changes everything.
I just don't know that he is incredibly good, unbelievably good, but I'm not sure that I don't see yet that he needs an errata. I just see that he's really good. I mean, the line is fine.
No range and line of fire part is a bit much, I think.
Don't get me wrong. I think he's amazing, and you should leave him alone because I love him. But
I would be happy if he was within
I honestly think that he will get errata.
9 range in line range is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I would say that is reasonable.
And he also is really good defensively with 18 senses, quintessence, and then tiny. So, like, if you're shooting the range, it's a 20. It's very respectable.
You guys done? Can I go now?
Yeah.
Yes, but like,
If you must.
So, initially you would think I would say Sebastian Faust, but I don't want to play him. I am going to play him.
All right, who's a soldier here?
What I want to try is not a soldier this time.
Mystics.
He's police, though.
Close enough.
And that is Vartox. Now, the reason I want to try Vartox is because of this rest of the hyper powers trait. Give Vartox a free action and choose a standard speed, attack, or defense power that you didn't choose during your last turn. Until your next turn, Vartox can use that power instead of the power in that slot in his dial. So that actually gives you the entire gamut of everything that exists to replace. And if I'm going at the 150-point valuation, we can go hypersonic, super strength, or invulnerable can become anything better than those or more appropriate than those at the right time. He's also got a really cool perplex power. Perplex. I'm enunciating or putting the wrong enunciations on things. He's got a cool perplex. He can use perplex. When he does, he may increase any combat value except for damage by +2, then decreases defense by -1 until your next turn. So if you're going in for that big hit you really need to hit, go with some extra attack while you're using super strength to up your damage. And, hopefully the thing that you hit is going to be the thing that was going to attack back anyway. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with the PD team ability, but the police team ability still leaves them a lot of options as far as team abilities are concerned because, where was it? Oh, yeah, because Central City Police Captain leaves you open up to that Central City Police keyword that takes all your police guys and makes them a named keyword. So, that said...
Well, I just want to say one thing about Vartox that's cool. I like that as opposed to the other pick-a-power characters, he actually has a power set of his own, so you have the advantage of using his powers than picking something else that's more advantageous. Like, I'm going to use my hypersonic and then go hide in a hole for stealth. Like,
and any effect that shuts down free action abuse doesn't wind up becoming a huge problem for him.
That's right.
Like, he has powers.
Yeah. Now, of course, Hat does it for 45 points, but also it's much more limited by comparison.
Because Vartox comes with some punch behind him, too.
I personally want to use Vartox because most recently he showed up in the Power Girl Harley Quinn duo comic,
Yeah, I did see
and it's
that. Yeah.
hilarious because he's like the groovy god of this like random next universe they popped into, and some guy took control of him, so now he's Dark Vartox, this groovy weird god. It's hilarious.
I want to use crypto so that I can put it with Cosmo and Dexstar and just get all
Dogs.
kinds of tiny animals flying across the board.
Except Cosmo's standard size, because that makes total sense.
I meant tiny in the general sense, not so much tiny to me.
Before we enter primes, my fact checker over here, Miss Amber, has solved all of our problems. It is Mix's Pitlick.
Mixes
Ah.
like
Glenn said otherwise, but
that's
whatever
actually
you
like
said.
a
Well, here's the
hybrid
thing.
between the way I was pronouncing it and the way Jay was.
I saw her on the Super Friends cartoon doing some research, and then she went to Smallville. So actually has said it on an audio. Has said Mix's Pitlick.
There is also two different pronunciations because there's an old Golden Age spelling and apparently a newer one. So
Yeah. Anyway,
Are we not
moving
doing
along,
cases?
going for the
If you can't-
primes. Hey, Jordan, what prime are you looking forward to?
Red Lantern Supergirl.
Ah!
I've been waiting for this figure for, as I said before, as long as the set, as long as she appeared in comics or it was like a thing. She has a damage power that honestly I think every Kara should just have, just stay down. It's just so reminiscent and exactly of her power set in the comic book. When Supergirl hits an opposing character with a close combat attack, roll a d6 after action resolve. On the result of 4 to 6, that character possesses Earthbound and Neutralized until your next turn. So she's punching people so hard, they're getting hit into the ground and just lying there.
Yeah.
I'm a
I
fan of
want
the
to
fact
turn
that it only has
Galactus
to-
into
I
a
agree
normal
with
person.
you on this one, Jordan. I think that's the best prime in the set.
Like her stats, like they gave her 160 points for those stats, knowing that you're also going to put a Red Lantern power battery on her. Like outrageous stats for 160 points. Like disgusting.
Yeah. And Mike, you echo?
I echo it precisely. She's incredible.
All right. Tom.
My favorite prime is arguably the worst prime, and that's Superman Red. At least, I don't know, this argument can be made either way, but I think Superman Red's really good. I keep hearing from people, Mike, that he doesn't like it as much as some of the other ones.
I think he's good if you have him with blue.
I agree. He is definitely, he's well made to be played with blue, but then again, I just like him all on his own. At 100 points, I think he's got a very solid down. What I really like about it, and this is just a personal thing with me, as opposed to really a general statement of meta quality, I love figures that if they get knocked off their first dial, or pushed, or you can choose to push them off their first dial, they end up with something that is completely different. So the fact that you've got charge, and if charge isn't working for you, then you push on to hypersonic. If for whatever reason your opponent doesn't want your pulse wave, then you go to steel energy, which could potentially put you back on your pulse wave. If they can get around your damage reduction, then maybe you go to super senses. And if enhancement is not doing you any good, then you can get higher damage and prob instead. So I just like the way that all works together so nicely, especially with the Superman ally, and the fact that he's got traded Force Blast. Never a bad thing when Force Blast is one of my favorite powers and one of the most fun powers. And ignoring Energy Explosion, again, that works really well with Superman Blue, who ignores Pulse Wave. So these two just kind of rocket it together. They have a wonderful time. They're super best bros for all times, and I have lots of fun playing them. So yeah, I think they're cool. That's mine.
All right, Jay.
I like the other two a lot. I don't know, because Captain Atom is cool, but also Brutal's numbers are just also ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because of his trait, like I previously said, he averages at like 11.75 or something, and it's just gross. And Apocalypse is really cool, and having powers relying on being on the other side of the map and not turtling is a really cool thing, and I'm really happy they've been doing that. And I like his defensive stuff with the shape change invincible, because that's like on dial pretty much the best thing you can get. And He's just really cool. I like him, and he's fun.
All
And
right.
power.
As far as looking forward to playing, Captain Atom takes my prime. Because, for one thing, his regeneration can't be mixes Pitlick into a explosion because it can't be rerolled. So I run the risk of exploding my damn self, and I probably will blow up a couple Captain Atoms, but I'm taking people down with me. All of you understand that. He's gonna blow up in your face, and it's gonna be my fault.
Yeah. His stats are just like really good all the way through. Yeah, like
absolutely, and you know what? He's playable at 130 points in a 300-point game very reasonably, and that enhancement in leadership won't be, unnoticed, right? So, I mean...
Yeah. I really like that even on his last clicks, like, he maintained his really good damage potential, because initially he goes from, like, Psychic Blast, Super Strength, Exploit, then, even on his last clicks, he can Poison, Exploit, and then free regen, and either, go back to health, or blow up, dealing 2 more damage.
Exactly.
Deal 5 damage in a turn, plus whatever, how many characters he kills. Like, he's crazy.
Also,
Guy Gardner?
Yes, that's true.
Unavoidable on that one. Oh, boy. All right. So we now move into chase territory.
He's also a wildcat.
What's that?
He's also a wildcat.
Yes.
Not actually.
No.
Oh, no?
Comics.
I didn't read the keywords.
There's a storyline where he's
he
teleported into the Wildstorm universe, and it is a good comic.
Yeah, and Mr. Majestic punches him in the face, and all like, "You're not from this universe."
All right, chase time.
Woo!
Mike, take the lead on the chases.
I really like Green Light. In particular, his special barrier ability that goes up. I don't have the dial in front of me right now, so I'm just going based on my notes here. But he gives toughness and flight to characters that are below 40 points, so you can have him swarm with a bunch of guys, along with that special barrier alone is incredible. I think it's on click 3 it starts, so I think that you could basically push him in and start taking a little bit of damage, and then have him be defensive. The fact that the barrier goes up and it basically you're targeting a guy and it puts up 4 squares of blocking terrain, or blocking around a guy as long as it's clear, and as long as they end with at least 3 end their turn with at least 3 next to them, they get an action token. So either they're and they're earthbound neutralized within it. So either them and their buddies are trying to punch their way out of it, or they're going to take the action token anyway. So it's action tokens either way. I really like it, unless you're using, of course, one of the invaders. But he's really good. I think his stats are really good. I think he's the cheapest chase as well. I think he's 70 points? I can't remember.
55 points for Batman.
5 points?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. That's the cheaper one. But I do prefer him to Batman. I've had a chance to play with the Batman chase, and it was a great piece. But I think that overall the Green Light piece is better.
All right.
The Green Light actually he does barrier normally, or he puts barrier all around all the squares he can.
Yeah.
So he can do up to 8.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. A lot of stop clicks on the chases I noticed.
Yes, they all have them, don't they? Or all except for Batman. Batman doesn't.
And then Brainiac turns into an entity.
Yeah.
Yes, that's appropriate to the comic with Batman because he actually was fairly glassy in the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Jay?
Ooh, me, Brainiac. Been
go.
waiting for a new Brainiac for forever. Because sorry. Waiting for a new Brainiac for forever, and he's awesome, and he's a really, really, really good entity.
Yeah, I agree.
And that damage power is crazy, which is he doesn't have a top dial, but once per turn when an opposing character is given a power action, immediately remove an action token from him. Like, what?
Yeah.
Just like really, really good stats, really good powers, Psychic Blast and Outwit, then Pulse Wave with that special. Just awesome.
All right.
That's it.
All right, Jordan.
I think this one's obvious, guys.
I
Wonder
think I
Woman.
could be
Oh my
surprised.
God! And Jordan's gonna talk about Wonder
No,
Woman.
I was wrong. I can't be surprised.
Yeah, it's Wonder Woman, guys.
I had
She's an
faith. I
Amazon,
had faith.
and she's outrageously good. Communism and social justice is probably one of the best traits in the set, in my opinion. When a friendly character with a lower point value than Wonder Woman is targeted with an attack, modify the attacker's attack and damage values by -1. So she's kind of like this tentpole figure at 165 points with pretty outrageous stats for 165 points. She's 12, 11, 19, 4 on her top dial with hypersonic speed, super strength, and invincible. The 4 damage is easily a mock-up because you give her a super heavy, or an ultra heavy rather, and she's dealing out 7, so that's nice.
All right,
Yes.
Tom.
I was really leaning towards Batman at first, but I mean, I guess if I'm being honest, I have to go with Superman. Part of that is just the fact that it's Red Sun Superman. I mean, we've wanted him for as long as there's been a Red Sun Superman to adapt. I really like the idea of a 100-point figure with 2 stop clicks. It's not that it's unprecedented, but I think it's really good. And
Clock wasn't good enough.
I like the fact that he changes gears as well. At 100 points, he's running, shotting in. Nice first, again, 8 range is pretty respectable, especially at 100 points. Blasting away with Indomitable and Flight, Psychic Blasting, and trying to tear people up while using Leadership. If and when he takes some damage and gets knocked onto a stop click, he changes quite considerably. Again, Super Senses takes the place of damage reduction, so that if your opponent can carve through your reduction with penetrating damage or what have you, the Super Senses might stop it. And I love the fact that along with regen and, of course, the really cool give them a token or give them damage when they knocked him their power, he also gets barrier on that click. So you don't need to just use that stop click as a way of regenerating. You can actually switch gears and get an 8-range barrier piece, which again, for 100 points, the rest of your team might be able to do the heavy lifting with some strategic use of an 8-range barrier. I'm really thinking of especially the limited format here, where it's not quite so easy to get free barriers all the time. In that setting, actual barrier has a use, and I love the fact that Superman comes out hitting hard, and if they hit him, he turns into this defensive barrier piece. And if he does regen, you got to deal with the stop clicks again and again and again and again. And I just think that that's great. So I'm going to go with Superman, specifically Superman at 100 points. At his higher values, he's definitely a tent-pole or a one-man army, and I think that he's capable in those contexts, but I would be playing him at the lowest point value.
All right. I'm going to have to echo Mike on the green light. I am looking forward to giving green light a try. I do like the front of his dial as much as I like the middle of his dial, and even the late dial is acceptable to enough of a degree for me. And the fact that if he does happen to dodge, he gets to heal to go with it. So I like that idea. That he's if he can keep dodging, he stays alive, and then you hit him again, he's back to that. It's not at the first time either, so he can just kind of keep sticking there. So he can be incredibly obnoxious, and he's a relatively reasonably good character, and Soldier Keyword. He's pretty neat. So, all right. I don't remember if I asked you guys about this, but I guess we should add it in because this is a Super Booster set, and the Super Boosters do contain Colossals. So, does anybody? Let's go with Colossals, and let's start with me on this one. But I'm looking forward to giving the big monkey a try. He's super flexible as far as his point costs. He peaks at 100 or 250, goes next at 200, playable at 150, 75, and at 20 with the single-click retaliation dial. Plus, he does neat things with Lois Lane, and the new Lois Lane that we just got in this set is 65 points. Plus, we also got a really cheap one from the movie set. Oh, wait, no, Man of Steel is not modern anymore, my bad. But we do have this new Lois Lane in this set, who's also actually pretty reasonable herself at 65 points. But then this Titano kind of follows her for free as a result of that, kind of a King Kong Fey Ray thing going there. And his, Colossal Indifference, I think he gets to attack twice with it. After action resolve,
Yeah,
you make a close combat attack.
Attacks.
Yeah. So overall, I'm kind of liking I like the monkey. What can I say? With nothing wrong with Kryptonian monk or Kryptonite monkey.
Here comes the monkey.
Ooh, me.
All right, Tom.
I am just going to say the following. In what universe does it make sense that for 250 points, you get 23 clicks of life with a stop click, and you start with 11 attack, 17 defense, 5 damage, 11 movement charge? I mean,
A
come
world
on.
where the kryptonite monkey is where...
Like, it's insanity. I'm looking at it and I'm like, that can't be 250. That must be 450. I feel like it's the Brainiac Skull Ship all over again, where it's legit. I can't believe it's real. I mean, but come on, guys. 23 clicks of life and a stop click for 250 points. That's hilarious. Oh, goodness me. I need to get out of this game. Oh,
Is
my
the
heart.
bug back? Is that what that just happened?
Oh, I like the thing is that I have to laugh at it because otherwise I'd be tempted to cry because I see all of my best laid plans going up in smoke. Because just look at what you get for 250 points. I defy you to be a better use of points, just a pure use of points, than 23 clicks with a stop click with those kind of numbers for that cost. That's bananas.
Can I go back to hyper time to do it?
I don't buy it. This is not right. I'm sorry, WizKids. You've made a huge mistake, and that huge mistake is monkey shaped, and it will be seen on a table near you.
It will be referred to often as monkey business.
It's monkey shaped from here on out.
Mike.
I'm trying to pull it up here. Skip me for a second.
It's a giant monkey is the answer to that question.
Jordan.
For the Colossals, my favorite is probably the Atom. Thematically, he's got Wonders of the World, and I love the Earth 2 run.
It was almost Adam for me because of the soldier keyword, but a monkey. Monkeys will always win.
Gotta play the monkey.
Brimstone because Apocalypse.
Yep. Seems reasonable. Mike?
What was the Colossal Retaliation even again?
Brimstone?
Oh my goodness, that's pretty good. Wow.
Retaliation. Give him free action, blah, 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 blah. Place Brimstone such you make a close combat, run direct line. And do so with an area of effect that includes all characters along that direct line of fire to the target. Roll a d6, and each character is dealt damage equal to the result instead of normal damage. Wow.
6 damage potentially for 20 points.
Yeah.
What?
And Mike, have you found yours?
Yeah. Solaris.
Solaris, yeah.
Because robot. And because 1219. I've been looking at all of these on their last click because you can actually play them just as, in this case, 25 points. So they range from 25 points to 20 to 15, depending on which one it is. But I don't believe any of them are unique. And so if you were to, like, it's not going to work in obviously the modern limited format because they're larger than a peanut base. But I'm thinking of next year even using them, a whole whack of them if you could get your hands on them. Be really fun and interesting and just crowd aboard really quickly. Plus the Colossal Retaliation on it is really decent. Yeah, stats are awesome. Plus, if you can't play him at 800 points, he really feels colossal. Truly, truly colossal. 12, 13, 26 with Outwit. Invincible, special attack power, which is Pulse Wave, and phasing, 12 movement phasing.
And multi-attack at 800.
Yeah.
And 5. Jeez.
Yeah, at 800, you better be getting multi-attack, right?
No kidding, yeah. I mean, I've been looking forward to these Colossals for a while because there haven't really been a lot since I started playing because, I don't know, there just haven't been a whole bunch of them that came out other than the convention-exclusive ones that you could actually purchase.
Yep.
And Necron.
Nice to see them as part of a set.
Yeah. All right. So the next phase we want to move into, well, we're still talking about Superman Wonder Woman, is the classroom session, we're going to call it. Tom has wonderfully set up a series of charts in regards to Superman Wonder Woman. I'm going to bring it up right now.
I don't want to go to school. It's not at 10:30. What is this?
This is the metagame, kids. This is what happens. So, Tom, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so we're locked on your screen, so hopefully everybody's seeing the first graph. this all was inspired by the fact that I just came to, while I was going to work this morning, I hope nobody from work is listening to this, then I was thinking to myself, like, what are my general thoughts on this set? And I had to kind of try to collect them. And my first impulse was like, well, it seems like there's a lot of Superman in this set. And so my first thought was to go and say, well, how much of the set is just variants of Superman? And then from there, how many of them were variants of Wonder Woman? And beyond that, other groupings that seemed logical. So I've got it broken down the set here. Nobody can be in more than one bucket. So the way what I'm trying to get at with this first chart is point out that 20% of the set is just versions of Superman, and that's not even counting the Bizarro and Superboy, because I forgot that they have that trait. So technically, it's even more than a fifth of the set is just versions of Superman. That's crazy, and in my opinion, it's a bit too much. It's also a bit too weird that it's a set called Superman and Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman represents 4% of the set to Superman's 20+, as already noted. That also means that a quarter of the set is either Superman or Wonder Woman, and most of that is itself Superman. So there's a bit of an imbalance there, but it's just kind of absurd that, on average, that means that in any given game that you're playing, let's say you're playing Sealed, and every team in Sealed is, let's say, 2 to 3 figures, because this is going to be a set where it's higher point cost, so I imagine 2 to 3 figures will be the average. That means every game the odds favor there being a Superman or a Wonder Woman. Sometimes there'll be several. I just think it's a bit too much personally, but that is kind of how it breaks down. Superman and variations of him actually outnumber all other Metropolis figures, who represent 15% of the second largest bucket of the specified ones. Wonders of the World represent a little over 10%, and then you've got a number of others at smaller percentages. The other, at 27%, that's about a quarter of the set don't really fit into any other really specific buckets, although some of them have synchronicity within itself. So anyway, that's just a little breakdown of what all the characters are. Do we want to talk about it or move on?
I think this is just kind of an observation more than anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see it so much as a complaint, because part of it, too, is a lot of the Superman characters are weight that's not Superman, and in a lot of cases they're characters that are similar to Superman cases, like Bartox definitely isn't Superman, Wraith definitely isn't Superman.
L.
Go ahead.
L.
L.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I'm straining the definition of Superman here a little
absolutely.
bit, but
And where I'm going with this is, like, Wonder Woman, I kind of put her piece of the pie in conjunction with the deities as well, because, you know, so much of the Greek gods and whatnot are part of her comic book. It just was kind of where my headspace is about it.
yeah, I agree. It's just like even deity plus Wonder Woman is like 9% of the set. Superman plus Metropolis is 35%. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, no respect for Wonder Woman at all.
Except over there at Jordan's place. There's all respect for Wonder Woman. So, I guess on to the next piece of this particular chart. And this one is, I just wanted to see how the point values broke out, comparing, in this case, the Superman and Wonder Woman set to the general modern age curve. Because it seemed at first glance that there were an awful lot of really high point characters, and there are. I think if you look, I've divided them into groupings of 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, etc., up to 300, and didn't bother to graph any of the things that were above that for the purposes of this exercise. And what you see is that in the general modern age, everything kind of builds towards 100, and there's spikes in the vicinity of 50, 75, 100, 150, 200, 250, and 300. No real surprise there. Those tend to be kind of the points around which a lot of figures seem to be built. There's a ton of 75-point figures and an enormous number of 100-point figures. But the general modern age curve has most of itself at 100 or less, with a nice little hefty portion of people between 100 and 200, and very few above that, proportionately speaking. By contrast, Superman and Wonder Woman almost seems like it goes in tiers. You've got a big bump at the 11 to 20 and another big bump at around 41 to 30. 100 points obviously is a huge bump. 150-ish area, it's in fact the largest individual concentration. So by comparison to the general modern age, we are getting a ton of pieces that tend towards the higher level of power. Similarly, you've got spikes there at around 180, and again at 200, and then towards the end. There's just generally more meat on the right-hand side of the graph. However, that meat is divided into fairly specific tiers, and there's a lot at 100 and under. But what there isn't is the big jump at around 75 and the build up to and fall away from that in the local area. And so I tend to think of the average cost of a piece in Heroclix being somewhere between 75 and 100 points in the current modern age. In Superman and Wonder Woman, that may work well as an average, but as you can see, it's only because there are gutters around the 100-point-ish figure line. So there are lots of figures that lean towards the very low end, and lots of figures that lean towards the high end, and some in between. So they're very much tiered in this layout, and as opposed to really feeling like there's a curve. Know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
Right.
Anyone want to comment on this?
I think you've done your homework here. I had a look at this earlier in the day, and it's all looking good. I mean, it's interesting to compare Modern Age overall with just this set and just see how it fits into the general makeup of it and the averages. It's kind of an odd set when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
The one that kind of catches me is the 11 to 20 marker. You have like 8 figures listed in the Superman and Wonder Woman set, and just in the general between this set and Nick Fury, we've seen a drastic jump in figures at that incredibly low point value. So, I mean, and with this set, too, I found the 150-point mark, like you observed here, is proportionately high. But I think that was one of those things that would be expected from a set like Superman and Wonder Woman. And just like we got with Nick Fury, set design gets defined a lot by the type of character, and the type of character in this game gets defined by the point value system to some degree, and you expect a lot of big tough guys in the Superman realm of things, so you kind of expect their high 150-point characters, whereas you go back to a set like Nick Fury, or even the Flash, where things are very street level, soldier level, like individual small people, and you get really low point values in those, and that's where you kind of get these balancing acts of why Superman and Wonder Woman type sets exist. And kind of like back in the day with Galactic Guardians is another set where you could observe that gigantic jump with huge figures, right?
Yep.
So I think this is kind of putting figures in that place where things are lacking. But I definitely noticed the 75 to 100 points because my sorting system with Amber is based on point value. So when you get into figure point values like 75 or 100, they almost get their own dedicated bin where everything else is kind of point ranges. Yeah. So that's my observations on it.
All right. Next up. This is much simpler. This just sort of sees where do the average values land for all the pieces. And in this case, I was looking at values on their first click because, again, I had one day in which I was doing this just having fun. I was really only looking at the starting click, so take this with a grain of salt. This is when you first see it across the table or when you first see it in front of you or at the table, what are you looking at? Well, from a movement perspective, you're looking at an awful lot of 9, 10, 11. And from attack perspective, 11 actually trumps 10. What I think is interesting about that, personally, is that now, with this set, a 10 attack is actually slightly below average. Where in my mind, 10 attack is a decent attack. I tend to think 10 attack, that's solid. And I mean, I'm not saying it's not solid, but I am saying that there will be, on average, more pieces across the table from you that have a higher attack value than that than have a lower one. On the defense side, similarly, just about everything is 17 or 18, with little bits and bobs on either side of that. Also interesting, the damage value, 4 by far dominating the starting damage value. Obviously, we just came off of Nick Fury, where that average was living largely at 2 and 3, and so there's no doubt here. This is a heavy damage dealing set with that kind of high movement, high attack, high defense, and high damage. There's no wonder where the points are going. And from a range perspective, really nothing unusual there. Lots of pieces that have 0 range. And then the ranges that do exist largely fall into the 5 through 8 category. But you'll notice that 8 is actually the smallest of those groupings. The ongoing effort to sort of pull back the overall range in this game. This may be more than Nick Fury. In fact, I would imagine, I haven't done the math, but I'd imagine that it's more than Nick Fury as an average, though the shield team ability really helps make up for that. But with 5, 6, and 7 is the average range around here. This is a set of beat sticks, and there really isn't much else to be said about it.
Yep. Now, anybody want to take some comments on this one, or?
Once again, just great observations. It's good to see it all put out on paper. I did have a look at this earlier in the day, and the Yeah, the thing that I had noticed during the polls on the weekend is that the damage is sufficiently higher than it usually is.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense to attack ratio, it seems a little tighter than it usually is. So yeah, it's interesting to actually see it on paper.
The one thing I did though observe is this set can survive that high damage off the front, and in addition to that, this set keeps going in those mid dials. So yeah, this like you said, this is the front click observation, but from my experience in this event, a lot of clicks were able to survive some beefy hits.
Oh yeah,
your experience was very skewed by a point figure.
Yeah, here's the thing. When I have a 300-point figure and, small point figures are able to survive that 5 damage I'm sending at them with Super Doom, that's saying something, right? And if they're still able to fight after that fact, that's
and before long we're going to see part of what contributes to that survivability.
Yeah. And we move on to the next one.
Yep, next one. This is, now I get into a layout of powers, and I'm just going slot by slot. So what's interesting about, again, first clicks only is what we're looking at here. And look at that, 25% of the set has a charge. You add to that a 17% on running shot, 15% on sidestep, and 11% on hypersonic speed. And between all of the above, you've got 2/3 of the set with some kind of move and attack potential, if you consider sidestep a way of getting a form of move and attack, which I think is reasonable to consider. So with that in mind, everything else is also quite small. I mean, stealth, there's a bit of that, though there is a fair amount of Superman ally out there. There's a bit of phasing teleport. Everything else is in small quantity, very little mind control, etc., etc. This is a set that wants to move and attack. And if you remember from the last slide, you had a lot of high movements and a lot of hefty ranges, so they're going to be able to get across and get those attacks in fast for the big-time damage that we were talking about. So anyway, a lot of sets are like this, admittedly. Move and attack is very common, but it really skews rather high, especially with a quarter of the set charging.
I thought there would have been more plasticity just to counter that, with hypersonic, and most of the guys with hypersonic have 0 range, so...
Very, very little flurry as well. I mean, everybody's kind of counting on that big hit as opposed to lots of opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was looking at the set overall because primers, and I noticed that there's not as much Superman ally or improved target humor as you would think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, the common and uncommon Superman don't have his team ability.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Like, there really isn't as much as you would think, like, in this kind of set.
Yeah. I was a little shocked by that, too.
Like, even the last, like, the other God of War Wonder Woman, for some reason, had Superman ally. That was like, what? And then this one doesn't. Like, huh?
All right. Next up, attack powers.
The attack slot, and look at that, 30% super strength. So remember how earlier...
In a Superman set?
Oh my
remember
God.
how we said earlier that the damage was skewing high? The damage is skewing even higher when you consider all that super strength. Almost a full third of the pieces in the set have super strength. That's crazy high, especially considering that the many starting lines, the Colossals, are taken into account here. And since I don't think any of the Colossals have super strength, or very few do, then that means that, proportionally speaking, the main set actually has an even higher relative percentage of super strength. So for anyone playing sealed, if you don't have anyone with super strength on your team, then just don't play your objects, because you're almost certainly going to be across from somebody who does. And yes, admittedly, not a huge surprise in a Superman set, but all the same, that's still a pretty big number. In fact, it's such a large number that it makes everything else kind of look... What I'm interested in is that 16% of the pieces in the set have no attack power whatsoever. That's more, or that's equal to the number that have penetrating psychic blast. At only 16%, that's not that much in terms of characters that are able to get that big damage past reducers. And reducers are a big deal. We're about to figure that out. Everything else comes in at relatively small numbers. No real surprises there. Very little in the way of blades. Goes well with a very little in the way of flurry. This is a hard-hitting set.
Yeah. What's important to note about the super strength there is the fact that the numbers, when it went to damage, averaged around 4 being the big number, 5 actually being another solid number in the set. With super strength matching in, you have to think about the figures actually getting super strength. They're all over 100 points. They're all using ultra heavy, so you're essentially averaging out 7 to 8 damage per figure in this set, potentially, on a first attack.
5 to 7.
Yep.
I-
And the dice have got to be working with you because again, you don't get a flurry, and as we'll see soon, you're not likely going to get probability control either. So you,
But then again, a very easy set to theme. I'd
yes,
imagine. Although I don't imagine you did keywords.
Not in the
I didn't do keywords.
Well,
Not-
it's
It's
not a
not-
full-pack draft because you're playing with everything, right? But in a sealed environment, you're likely to get a Metropolis or a Krypton or Deity team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And just to kind of remind people about what Tom was saying, if you still have a draft to go to, and like Tom said, if you don't have super strength, leave your objects behind. I think in 3 games, 2 objects were left. And when I played.
Yeah.
So, but now that's the
Yeah.
draft. like I
Sometimes
said.
you can use those objects with your stealth or whatever, but I wouldn't risk it if I were anyone out there without super strength.
I was taking them right from under stealth characters. Next up, the defense zone.
All right, the defense zone. Now it should be noted, because look at that huge portion, that Quintessence and Indomitable are considered as well as traded powers. I should have mentioned this actually earlier, is that I took traded powers into account when I was doing all this stuff. So at 37% of the set with willpower, you have to remember that's every starting line of the...
Oh no. Tom?
Oh my god, that was me.
I thought I was lagging out.
Quintessence
Tom,
and just... Oh, am I gone?
yeah, we
You're
lost you
cutting
for a
out.
bit there, just as you got started.
Who can or can't hear me now?
I can hear you.
You're good now.
I can hear you. So I think it's just Mike who's staring at me very intently with his deadpan eyes. No, they're both lagging.
Oh dears.
I think the internet's fighting with the both of you since you're both in the
can
same
anybody-
building right now. So
What's
it's
going
kind of
on?
dealing with this. Tom?
Mike is a statue.
Tom,
He
can you
looks
hear
at
us?
Medusa
Oh, your mic
and...
just dropped out. Tom, can you
Okay.
hear us?
Oh.
I can hear you.
All right, good. You
Are
can
we
you,
here?
you can go again because
Okay. I don't know how much of that you caught, but I'll give you the very brief version.
none of it.
Okay, none of it. What you need to keep in mind with that willpower number being so high is the Quintessence and Indomitable is included, right?
Right.
Okay. So with that in mind, that willpower is skewing a little bit high. All the Colossals are taken into account. So if we're talking like a sealed type environment, you don't expect to see quite that much willpower.
No.
However, at 37%, that's only a little over a third. And frankly, there's a lot of ways of getting willpower in this game, and a lot of figures that start with willpower. So that's not as high as you might expect for a set of Superman and Wonder Woman, frankly. What you do certainly expect to see is 17% impervious, 10% invincible, 11% invulnerability, 12% toughness. That means that there's basically about half the figures in the set, in fact more than that because a lot of them share it with willpower, have that damage reduction. That's a lot of damage reduction. As far as a general percentage of the overall curve, combat reflexes 1%. That's hilariously small. 3% super senses, 2% mastermind. Like all the rest of them are completely marginal, and there is so much damage reduction. Again, that willpower that you see that's a huge portion is almost always on top of another power. So, you know, if you take that out of the equation, what you're left with is a wheel that's almost all damage reduction. So,
Yeah.
a lot of damage reduction.
There
No
was
surprise, but
Yeah, there was a ton of damage reduction, but and me and Mike made this observation as well. There's an awful lack of what you'd expect to see in Indomitable and Willpower. There's a lot of characters that I was looking at going, really, you push? All right, you push. I'll take it. So, yeah. And, you know, I'm often finding I can't rely on Impervious.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
It's a lot
Yep.
of none.
Damage
Yikes.
powers.
Let's, wrapping it up with a third of the set just doesn't have one. And after that, like Outwit and Shape Change are tied at 13% apiece, but that's a pretty small number. I mean, that it's small enough that the likelihood is you're not seeing it. In fact, between Outwit, Perplex, and Prob, which are kind of the classic big three, that's still only about a quarter of the pieces out there. So in all likelihood, only in any given match, you only expect to see 1 to 2 tops figures that actually have something like that. Probability control, very little of it. And as we said earlier, there's very little flurry. you have to get those attacks to hit. So if there's any real question of it, try to set yourself up the best way that you can, because you just, with that much damage going back and forth, well, a big miss can be a big problem. Other than that, there really is nothing that is favored in a larger sense other than none. So this is not a support-heavy set. We keep coming back to the same theme, and they have stuck to that theme. This is a set about people flying across the board, hitting each other as hard as they can. All the little things that get in the way are really marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I have to say.
Yeah. Jordan?
I know I cut out partway through there, but the one thing I did notice about the defense stuff is that, yes, there's a bunch of willpower when you factor in all those different pieces, but when I was noticing the pulls on large, it's really low on the willpower scale.
Yeah.
We did talk about
same
that.
Observation.
Oh, you did? Okay, I missed that entirely.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It happens. Internet, Canadian internet. I blame it all. And that was it, right?
So anyway,
yeah.
That's just a quick little thoughts of what we expect to see when you sit down at the table looking at these figures for the first time. Not a lot of surprises, frankly, given the fact that it's a Superman Wonder Woman set. This is kind of what we'd expect to see, but it's interesting to see it borne out in the stats as opposed to it just being a gut feeling.
All right.
How did you factor pick-a-power characters into that?
I just didn't. I felt that it would homogenize it across the board too easily.
Yeah,
if you could pick a power, then everything would just go up. So I didn't bother with it.
Yeah, but it's like Hat's a common and can be whatever you want him to be.
Yeah.
So it's like.
But I think Bartok
you can't
is
get
only
your
common, right?
What?
Bartox is only. Oh no, Bartox is super rare. Never mind.
Yeah. What are you talking?
Yeah. But you're right. Like those who have the pick a power powers will give an increased opportunity to get any individual thing. So in a way, you can kind of look at every single one of these and think of them as a little bit higher with those pieces taken into account. But there are few enough of those pieces in general that you can't rely on getting one, and you probably can't rely on facing one.
Yeah, there's also characters like General Lane that gives everybody Superman enemies you're getting your out with that way from an uncommon. It's like
or if you happen to be able to get
it's hard to factor in.
Is it a Hawk Girl and Power Girl, or what's the combination? Huntress and Power Girl?
Huntress and Power Girl.
Huntress and Power Girl.
And also, not that there's much Justice League, but Luthor also gives Justice League dude Superman enemy.
Which
but
is
it's hard to math that.
Let's talk about Luthor for a second. How irrelevant, or how redundant, more like it, is his figure in this set? We get the same point cost, the same general powers. We got one with Justice League. Why waste another slot?
I assumed it was going to be the one from the Public Enemy storyline, which is the President Luthor and the Superman robot storyline, but apparently not. So it's I was just like, okay, why is this Luthor of Justice League and is a good guy as opposed to being hooked on kryptonite steroids? Where's that Luthor? I want that Luthor.
It feels a little bit to me like they were designing the set and they realized late in the game, oh darn, we somehow forgot a Lex Luthor. So they just threw one in because it doesn't feel.
I don't think they read the comic.
Yeah.
Because that's Lex Luthor that actually beats Superman.
I think that was more they wanted a Luthor, and for some reason they wanted to make a modern Luthor again.
Just got to.
He's bland.
I don't know.
I do have to say with this set, I'm leaning towards the lower common areas or lower rarity areas as far as the figures are concerned in playability and want. I think there's maybe one or two of the super rares that I really want to play, and everything rare and below, I really want to just get into a game and give it a try. There's a lot of stuff I want to fool around with in there. Some of it's less subtle than others. I mean, there's the Supermans and the Wonder Womans, all kind of, with the exception of the rare one, are all kind of just there and all right at best. But I really kind of want to play with the low commonality on this set. It's an observation I made earlier. With that said, I kind of want to segue somehow into mine and Mike's experience this weekend at the pre-release to either, prep you guys for it yourselves, get everybody a good idea of what to expect if you're playing with the WizKids set of rules, which is fun, definitely, but not for some when it comes to a lot of cases. So I'm going to let Mike start because... go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but you do a draft, so you separate yourselves into pods. In this case, it was pods of 4, and you do a draft for your actual initial team, and you just use everything you get. And so, but after that, you break out into 1v1 actual rounds. So it's an interesting way to do kind of like a sealed format. You end up with these incredibly high point teams because, I mean, in that format, obviously there's a great benefit to getting as many high point figures as you can in most cases. I ended up pulling a rare pack, and I got L as kind of my highest or best figure in that actual pack. And I ended up with a team with L and Valzod, the incapacitating
Earth 2 Superman.
Superman, yeah, Earth 2 Superman, the brutal A version, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of the pieces, like I got Jimmy in there as well. That's why I love the Turtle Boy. Yeah, Turtle Boy. A couple other just like support figures, including an Amazon, and it was just trying to think of. Oh yeah, and also the Golden Age Superman. So the Leap and Climb Superman, as I like to refer to him, who's not half bad, but Leap and Climb I don't like. So that's what I have to say about Leap and Climb in general. I ended up going 2-1. I won my first 2 games. The first game was against Cecil, and I don't know if anybody here has played Cecil. Actually, I do know that lots of you guys have played Cecil. And he doesn't miss a shape change roll, so it was very frustrating.
He's rolling those dice that have 6 on every side.
I ended up winning by 5 points. It was 150 to 155.
Yikes.
In that round, yeah, it was really, really tight. And then I went against Amber, which was a true joy. She, being the judge, was just filling in to make the numbers even, and she played a 265-point team or something like that. She basically picked all the little cute figures that she wanted to play. Like she had Crypto on her team. She had Lori Lamaris, so that was a good figure to have on there. Clark Kent. Can't remember what else. Amber, are you in the background there? What else did you have on your team?
Huntress and Guardian.
Huntress and Guardian, yeah. So it was a really just fun. Let's relax and play, an easy game here. Just because, I mean, my points were double hers, so it was a little bit slighted towards my favor in that particular case, but it was really, really fun to play against her. Then I went up against a Firstborn team. It was Aubrey's team, and Aubrey's Firstborn killed L in 1 hit. So that was really disconcerting. I ended up taking like 15 points that game because I killed his reporter.
And down!
Yeah. But overall, it was a fun little tournament, and the little mini pseudo sealed that we did with Aiden and Amber afterwards was actually really fun. So I got to see a lot of the set as a result, and I like the set, but it's weird.
Yeah, absolutely. So I in my draft, I've opened my pack and immediately saw Super Doom. So that one was kind of academic.
How many points was your team?
I just did the math. 695 points was my team.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was drafting off of Cecil, so I was quite surprised with what I was able to pull off. My team consisted of the Super Doom, and my second pull was Ulysses, followed by Power Girl.
Wow.
And what made up the rest of my team was Cold Cast and the Soldier. Now I want to get
you needed TK, right?
Well, I mean, I didn't need TK. I needed a character who has more points than the other character in the box. So it's Coldcast and Huntress in the same box. It's like, I have Power Girl, but Coldcast is 65. Is that TK? I'll take him. And what's even more exciting about Coldcast is when you push him off of his TK, he has a really cool Pulse Wave power that gets combined with Running Shot. So basically the idea of my 695-point team was to hit as hard as I could, obviously, and hope that it stuck. Now, I didn't have the easy road in the first round. The first round I got to play against my friend Chris, who pulled the Chase Red Sun Superman.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was my Super Doom versus his Superman, the Red Sun Superman, and believe it or not, that game didn't go as quickly as you would think it would with all the damage that was on the board. In fact, I think the only things that were really consistently hitting were his small characters hitting my really big, thick characters, which was getting a little disconcerting for a while. But what ended up coming down to is the fact that I didn't have to hit often. I just had to hit at all. And once I was able to hit, everything else on his team was going to crumble a lot faster than my figures were, because that Power Girl, for all that we said about her, is really beefy. Holy smokes, is she really tough. But I led in with Power Girl and Ulysses with some TK from Cold Cast, and then he got his Pulse Wave. And then I had the Superman, the Super Doom up front with the Soldier in front of him. Because Super Doom's a giant, he sees over the Soldier, so I was able to use the PD team ability very, very easily, sitting in front of my Super Doom and shooting with, his 12 attack with Psychic Blast and then his -1 to your defense. But this is the only game where Super Doom actually took any damage as a kind of a prelude to the rest of the tournament. Mm-hmm. And Super Doom he gets Battle Fury. And then even later down the dial, he got Precision Strike, which came into effect when Superman had hit his stop clicks. I got him down to his last stop click with Ulysses, and because I had Precision Strike with the Super Doom, I was able to get the last shot in on that Superman and make it stick. And that's what really kind of swung the game to a definite win for me, and then I just had to chase down the lowest lane. Me and Chris played a heck of a game. It was really tight the whole time, and the way I looked at it was going to come down to whoever won that game was going to be the guy to beat, because there was a lot of beef on both of our teams with either that Superman or my Super Doom. My second round was against Patrick Chow. He had a Superman Red, a Ulysses, and a Power Girl, along with the Jimmy Olsen accountable, and one other figure, the Reporter, the investigative reporter. And it really came down to the fact that I just hit harder with more of my things. And a little bit of positioning came into effect, because Cold Cast does 3 damage. So I was able, he put the pressure on me, but I TK'd out one character with Cold Cast, and then I sidestepped and broke a wall to get a line of fire on the Superman Red, and a big Psychic Blast from the Super Doom really, really put him in a hurt spot. And then I got him in a position where I was able to running shot those Superman Red with my Soldier, but I missed with that, and then I attacked with Ulysses to drop the defense. It was hypersonic with Ulysses next to the Soldier. That dropped the defense, made it easier for me to hit, and then I just kind of it went from there, and kind of that was where the game tilted my way. Once I had one thing down, it was just I had more beef on the board after that, and the beef just kind of whittled down. And again, I had a 700-point team. Super Doom, me making up 300 points of my team. I was the wrong person to be given a 700-point team. Right?
I like the fact that rolls, right?
What's that?
You made up for your crap rolls, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like I said, I didn't have to hit often. I just had to hit.
Yeah.
And once I did, it stuck. Right?
I like the fact that in this format, if you start off with a outnumbered character, and even if the tides turn against you, you can then pick the slack back up because you start to get the tokens.
Yeah.
Why does Super Doom get that? He's not good enough already? My God.
I know. And I looked at it and I said, I wonder if this is going to go... You know what? If that goes off, I'm losing. Never mind. I don't care. Because it's a 5-figure set format. And then my final round was against Keith. Really good player, but he saw the problem he was up against, and it was that 20 defense in Super Doom, because I think his attacks averaged 10, with the exception of his Lex Luthor, which I believe has 11. Yeah, which has 11 on the start, which was his highest chance of hitting me, period. He did manage to kill my Power Girl, so he scored the most points off me in the tournament. The first game I lost only Cold Cast. That game was a battle of attrition. Holy smokes. And then in the last round, I lost my Power Girl, but once I had Lex Luthor and his Power Girl, because it was Lex Luthor, Power Girl, Huntress, Hat, and I can't remember what else was on his team, but Keith looked at it and said, if I can't get any damage on the Super Doom, I can't win. And he did his best. He threw attacks at him, so I can't fault him on that. But the fact that the Super Doom already can't be outwitted takes away the ability for Hat to give yourself the outwit, and he had very limited options as far as things were considered. So I ended up winning that, and because of the points that I had taken, I had managed to kill every single figure I was up against. I did win the Super Booster and pulled the War Wheel.
Wait, I thought it was supposed to be they all get open and winner gets first pick.
That's what I thought too, but we just kind of handed out Super Boosters. That was about it. But I would have taken the Titano. There's a lot of confusion in regards to things. I'm not too hurt about it. It takes one less that I need going into the opening of the set when it comes out. So I had a lot of fun, and I'm sure some others didn't have as much fun because of that. But like I said going in, this is a format where it's really hard to take away that, oh my goodness, I lost when I have a 700-point team on the board. That's not a fair format in any way, shape, or form. But every single person walked out with more Superman Wonder Woman than was available on the market, right? Mm-hmm. So as far as I was concerned,
it's a dice chucking.
I had Superman and Wonder Woman figures. I won, so I actually
won the
edition, and yeah. Sorry?
I was just saying it's a dice chucking format. Like,
it is.
That's kind of, sit down, throw dice, see what happens.
Even opening the packs is a dice chucking, because it really comes down to what you pull in that first pack, and then that kind of sets the pace for your team. And because it's use everything, and I pulled a Super Doom, it was kind of academic from there, right? If it was to be a point set format, I'd probably still use Super Doom, but he would be at his lower point value. At 175, or I would play him as a one-man army and just use the outnumbered tokens to just make up for the out-actioning issues. So
you can get really lucky still if you don't pull anything good, and the guy next to you pulls the Captain Atom Prime with a chase, because I've seen that happen a lot.
Yeah, because I've heard of that happening. It's kind of like Avengers Assemble, where if you got a King Thor, a lot of the time you got a 3D man too.
I was like, crap.
A little extra something, just to be like, here.
Yeah. All right. So if there's nothing else we want to add, we'll go on to fan questions.
All right.
All right. Fan questions it is. Just got to find them again. All right. And it's not a week unless Chris Stockhouse has a question for us, isn't it, guys?
That's true.
Thank you, Chris, as always, for your constant involvement in the show. Chris asks, I'm sure you guys already have talked about the entity change. Do you see the value increasing, decreasing because of the change? Are there any entity combinations you're going to miss because they're no longer legal? I'm going to lean in and say, bye-bye, Dead Spadara.
Yep.
Ion Atomica.
Yeah. Well, I think you're the guy using that.
Yeah.
So, you're probably going to see Adara lose a little bit of value, but if you caught my conversation with Isaac this weekend, he still thinks Adara has some value with figures like the Spider-Man, the OP Kit Spider-Man at 19 defense.
Yeah, 19D, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Super Doom.
I wouldn't say yeah, Super Doom. If only he started with that 20 defense at 175 point value.
As long as you're playing higher than 300.
Yeah. Sorry, but does anybody else want to chime in on this? No? All right. So, yes. Tom?
No, I was just going to say I agree. Atomica and Despitalis are the two that I think will be hardest hit. I'm not sorry to see them go, mind you. I'm actually happy to see them go, but they are going to be the ones that seem to be hardest hit.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway from it is people have to think a new way, and this happens often. Is little changes make us think in a new direction. I mean, even the most recent theme team change was huge for a lot of people, and people still didn't understand. I still have people who have to ask me questions about it on a regular basis. So people still will eventually adapt to it, but it's a new set of things to think about. I'm gonna miss the idea of possessing Rocket Raccoon, but it's a small hit to take because Rocket Raccoon's already amazing anyway.
I'm upset that Rocket has a pilot keyword but can't pilot anymore. That is messed up.
That is a little messed up. So next, Fabricio Granados asks, with the soon death of Lantern Rings and the Phoenix, where will you people put their fates regarding resources? Pandora's Box, Rock of Eternity, the Quinjet, the Table, Future Civil War resource. And he asks about the entity. A lot of people are asking about the entity on Tiny, so I think we all have our ideas on that one.
Yep.
And so that said, let's start with the resources for the future. The next jump. I'm looking at the Quinjet and the round table a lot.
Yeah.
Although Pandora's Box is the one that adds stats and is most likely to see a lot more of my teams. That's kind of where I'm leaning. What about you, Tom?
I don't like Pandora's Box or the Rock of Eternity, but I appreciate their value after the other resources retire. I think the Quinjet is arguably the most viable from a resource perspective, but it does lock you down to playing the Quinjet on your teams. So I think all in all, if it was a question of what I'm going to try to get the most mileage out of, it'll probably be the round table, only because it's a resource I enjoy, and it only is taking up a certain number of points and giving me the most flexibility with the rest of my team. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm leaning. I think that it's a different question about what do you expect to see the most. I think the Rock of Eternity will fully recognize its value once the other things go away, but I don't care for it myself.
And Hard to Kill tentpoles will come with it. God, I hate that thing.
Yes.
Mike, what's up?
Oh man, definitely the round table and the Quinjet, and whatever's coming down the pipe, in the foreseeable future as well, because there's going to be other resources that come out between now and then. I'd be interested to see what kind of quirky or viable resources are about to pop out. I do think though that out of the remaining that the Quinjet would be the strongest, if I had to choose one out of them. Although as Tom said, it does require you to play the Quinjet then. But I think that the Quinjet being the simplified and ultimately, in my opinion, better version of the round table, that's the one that I'll be playing with probably more than any other.
Mm-hmm. I'm finding myself eating my words a lot on how much I really want to play it the more and more I think about it. Jordan.
I'm sorry?
A future resource when the Golden Age cuts the lanterns in Phoenix Force and Power Plant. I
have been preaching the round table before the cuts, so my answer is not going to change.
All right. Okay. Enough. Jay.
I'm going to go contrarian because it's fun.
Supreme Intelligence?
Oh, hells yeah.
I keep forgetting it's a resource.
Yeah, you also forgot that the penguin was a thing too, but that was for a good reason.
Everybody forgot the penguin for a reason.
I am probably the person. I am probably the person in the world who has played the penguin the most. I will not. That is my title.
I played it twice.
I played this. I don't even know how many times. I played it countless times.
The penguin with Zuranar.
I never did that.
Yeah, you did.
No.
Oh wait, sorry. There was a third time I played the penguin, but
I've actually also played the penguin as the figure, and he sucks, and I cried. But yeah, Supreme Intelligence, fun stuff.
All right.
Power Rangers.
So Fabricio has a follow-up question as well.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of you seen any of the Suicide Squad OP kit? They're doing this weekend, and he wants all we've seen is images from the kit. I haven't seen Dials either, and this is actually
that should be Wednesday, if anything.
What's that?
It should be this Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll probably see the Dials on Wednesday. This has been the longest drought on the, but usually we get them like pretty early, like a week or two before we should be seeing them. So,
and around the end of the month. I mean, sometimes a little earlier, but like you can hope for like Wednesday at the latest, I would say.
Yeah, so we'll probably see it Wednesday. But other than that, we've seen hide nor hair of it, which is why you're not actually going to see a build this week from us on this particular episode.
Come on, Waller, we believe.
So, Donnie Askey asks, I have a question about the Superman Batman Robots Colossal Retaliation. It says give them a free action, then place them next to a character that damaged a friendly since your last turn, so they can make a close combat attack, and then do so. Is the whole action a free action? As in, can I do the free action, retaliation, and then do a move action afterwards? Yes, absolutely. Obi-Wan Chris. Oh, boy. There, you're always so wordy. I love you, Obi-Wan. You think there's a place in Heroclix for phases. I understand that would not work like magic or anything like that, but I could definitely see phases being used as a learning tool. I guess it just becomes second nature if you've been playing for a while, but I think it would help to remember things like leadership and all the unique beginning of turn effects, as well as just remembering and to clear action tokens at the end of your turn. Amber, have I done an episode on phasing your turn?
I feel like you have.
I feel like I
You
did.
may not have used that term.
I'm in this phase right now where some of my episodes have either been outdated or just need an update. And it is one thing I do a lot, regardless of whether or not I actually have any effects. The second I enter my turn, okay, beginning of the turn, what am I going to do? I look around, and I see there's no free actions I can be taking. All right, time to do some stuff. And then it's the stuff phase, and then it's the end of the turn, and that's where I look for more free actions or end of turn. It's a habit I suggest people getting into. Even when you're practice games with your friends or whatever, just get into the habit of saying, okay, beginning of the turn, even if you don't have anything you know going in, you have nothing. Just take a second to think about it. Because sometimes, leading in with the perplex or the outwit is okay as well. Anybody dispute, agree?
Well, Heroclix kind of is a game of phases already. We just have 3 of them. Beginning of phase, in phase. It's just nothing complicated about it. What makes this game complicated is the fact that, like, there's so much to it. Not necessarily the timing. It's just, hey, you have 70 powers. Remember exactly when to do them.
Yeah.
I think it's good to, like, kind of just take a second, just look over all your figures, and, like, I mean, realistically, because it's a time-based game, you should be, like, even trying to figure out what you're gonna do during your opponent's turn, but, like, it's good to take a second, look at all your figures, see what they can do, because you don't want to commit to a non-free action and then, like, realize you want to do a different non-free action.
Yeah.
So just take a second to think.
I'm double-checking with Amber. I feel like I did a metafix not too long ago called Developing Habits. Double-check that episode if I did do that. Episode 57, as a matter of fact. Wow. So, and we're at 71 now. That might need an update. We'll see. I'll have to look over that episode for you. That's a good place to check, getting into good habits of the game. Because there's a lot of habits you kind of have to develop as far as the game is concerned for remembering things. And finding your best way to remember things is a good idea. And I definitely agree with you're splitting the game into phases as one of them.
I'm going to do that anyway. Beginning of turn, during kind of power actions phase, and then end of turn actions.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with entity, you have to.
Yeah. It's also good to note that end of turn and clearing are not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, for example, how if Super Scroll takes a damage and gets perplex, he can use the perplex.
Right.
So also good to differentiate between, like, beginning of turn ID cards and, like, what happens at the end of your turn versus actually clearing.
Yeah, and that special power
clearing is the actual what?
Special power action on the part of ID cards actually happens at the beginning of your turn, and it's special in that way.
I know.
The end of the turn, I think, still has the most confusion about it. I remember in the Twitch chat during Rock World Cup, there was one team that was just a Kyle Rayner with 3 entities on it and a Rock of Eternity. Not a Rock of Eternity, sorry, Pandora's Box. And the Pandora's Box had Sloth for the specific reason of putting Sloth on the Kyle Rayner, make it incredibly difficult to kill. And one of the things he was able to do was at the end of the turn, Sloth checks, did you take any actions? No. Heal 1. Still at the end of the turn, you can act, because of the controlling order of the game, the player who's active gets to control the order of things, and what he was able to do was Sloth heal, then wall after that. So it was one of those nuances that people aren't actually aware that the end of the turn is a thing just like the beginning of the turn where you can do free actions with it almost as freely as anything else. Almost
like how...
beginning of the turn.
Yeah, I think it's like my favorite one of that is like how 3D Man can perplex up his defense once, roll the thing, perplex it up 2 more times. You only need to roll 1 time. You only roll 1 time, kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. That's actually all we have for questions, because we did have a question from one of our local guys, Patrick Chow, asks what of our favorite Colossals, and what are the best and worst in playing in the meta. And the set's not out yet, so we don't want to try to speculate too far in advance as far as the set is concerned, because we haven't had a chance to try physically take a look at figures, get a feel for them on the map and everything like that. So it's too soon to say which is definitely going to be in the meta as far as the Colossals, but assume that almost every single one of them at the lowest point value is going to show up in Colossal Retaliation mode, right?
Yeah.
Titano, all the time.
Our day.
Yeah, Titano's the most likely to be seen on a lot of teams, especially with that animal keyword, right?
Ooh.
What about Camo, Jason?
You know what? Somebody brought up a really good point, and that Camo is a Metalman enemy. So I'm holding my breath for World's Finest now. I'm over it for now.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked a Colossal Camo. Where's my Colossal Camo? So anyway, that said, anybody want to add anything before we wrap it up? Last chance?
I think you missed a question.
Did we?
Yeah, Rick Sasser,
right,
favorite
Rick
LE.
Sasser. You know what? It's so small in comparison to everybody else's. Rick Sasser asks, what's your favorite LE piece that's not our favorite Kyle Rayner? Tom?
Favorite LE ever?
Yeah.
Well, modern.
Boy, that's...
That's not what it says.
Yeah.
You know
Don't
what?
take away the Batman of Zernar from me.
It's a meta game, man. The meta lab.
Shh.
I'm pulling a blank right at the moment, so I'm just going to say... I don't know what I'm going to say.
Coriander.
The Incredible Hulk LE from Mutations and Monsters.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
Oh God, there's so many.
Not
I
Kyle Rayner.
don't know right now. I mean, obviously Kyle Rayner, but I have been.
It says besides Kyle Rayner, you
a lot
dick.
with. I know, I heard that. A lot with the Black Spider-Man. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also,
Jordan.
White Queen was cool before they nerfed her.
Jordan.
I mean, it's got a slightly different tag, but it's still technically an LE. But White Lantern Sinestro from DC 75th.
There you go.
No, I'd take that. Jay.
Modern. If you're gonna twist my arm, it's so hard. All these LEs recently are so
you don't
good.
Have to go modern. If
You
you
don't
want
have
to
to
go
go modern, man. You can go whatever.
Oh, Zernar, 100%. Thank you, Grant Morrison. I love you. Marry me. Don't actually. It's okay.
When you played me with it, I went and got one. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then he played me with it.
And then he never played me with it, so there you go.
Actually, if I was to pick a favorite, I'd probably go with Guy Gardner because I really want him to work, and I want him to do what I want him to do. And one day I will, I promise. I got 1 year left to make him work, and I'm going to try again to make him function. It will happen.
He's so good.
The day of the guy. The guy is guying.
Guy. I'm not
Guy.
a guy.
Be careful, guy.
Yeah.
So, now I just want to give everybody a heads up that this is episode 49 of the Metal Lab. That means next week is episode 50, and we're going to do some stuff. And my guys are thinking of some stuff to do as far as segments are concerned. If you guys have ideas for us to, celebrate our 50th episode of the Metal Lab, I've had to look at these guys for 49 episodes already, so make me like them next week. By all means, we'll take suggestions. In the meantime, don't forget we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. We are working on shipping out our poker chips to some of the patrons we do have already. And in order to get a poker chip from the $10 and up, you are eligible for one of these beautiful Married with Clicks tokens. Come on, camera. There we go. So we get the Married with Clicks on this side, on the other side, patron, and the month that you are a patron and year. So we have the October ones made up. We have a couple from the past for some of our patrons from earlier months, and they are going to be going out soon. If you are a patron right now, and if you want to jump in on that, $10 or higher gets it in there. And guys, we're really gunning for this money where your mouth is matches to get filming. We need $33 more on our Patreon, and that could be 33 of our fans pledging $1. It could be one of you guys pledging 25, and another 7 of you pledging $1. We're happy with all of it. Any of it would help you get another show on us on our channel. We've actually got another episode of the Breakdown coming up this weekend to match what we've been doing so far. This week we'll be talking about Pierre McDermott's team from Majestics, and then the next episode we will be talking about young Mr. Isaac's team, which was just a really good team. Unfortunately, doesn't work in the capacity it used to anymore, mostly because of the Desperado change. I don't think we go over that in the episode, but it is filmed. It just needs some editing. And unfortunately, because I'm in charge of editing the Breakdown, it's falling behind and is terrible in comparison to the beautiful work Miss Amber's been doing from our patron support of the videos. I'm getting better, though, I promise. That said, if you get a chance to pledge on Patreon, we appreciate it. Otherwise, the channel kind of stays as we're going. We're looking to just improve it, do some better things, get me in the same room with these guys on a more regular basis. Because look at this face right here, this little ginger bugger. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah.
The 8th best Heroclix player in the world.
In as far as the ROC is concerned.
Terrible.
Take little bits of it away from him as best we can.
That's awful.
As well, we are also brought to you in part by HCRealms.com. Check out the shop tab or go to realmsgaming.com and use the coupon code MARRIED in order to get yourself 10% off your purchase. Quickly grab those last cheap Nick Fury packs that they have because they're currently $9.95 US, and if you still can use this the 10% off coupon on top of that in order to get even cheaper Nick Fury packs. Just that last little grab. Maybe there's a Hulk in one of those. Who knows? Even better. And that does go towards support for the channel, which we will be using on Realms Gaming in order to get better stuff to prize with for future tournaments that we plan on running or future draws that we plan on running through our channel. But with that said, I must say goodnight to everybody. Thank you for joining us if you're watching us live. Thank you for watching on the archive version. And practice
makes
your
team
better.
Hey, have a wonderful evening, guys.